Okay, everybody, here we go. Making it happen no matter what. So this is the Ask Me Anything. This is for February 27th, 2025. And even as I'm doing this, my computer is doing weird stuff. It's opening things that I'm not opening. Anyway, that's why this isn't happening right now as a YouTube live video on the Lynchpin YouTube channel, because I tried multiple times, and every time I try to go live, it just shut down, froze. And so I've got the questions. I'm going to record a video, and then I'll upload this video to our YouTube channel, and I'll share it on all the appropriate channels, and hopefully that makes it happen for today. But it is what it is. We're going to find a way. Shout outs, as always. First shout out. This is from Jen F. After we just did the 5K row the other day, she scored a 22 minutes and 5 seconds on her 5K row, which was an improvement of about 25 seconds from last time. And that row, when she logged it into BTWB, was a level 79 out of 99 levels. So call it a level 80. That's a really strong row. That means you're basically faster on that, Jen, than 80% of the people who did it. That's pretty crazy. So congrats for that. That's legit. This one, super cool. This is from Elliot G. And Elliot says, I haven't posted anything in a while, but I figured I'd like to share that I had a PR this morning. Thanks, coach. 63 and a half years young, and I got a PR. Woohoo! Lifting record, 135 pounds for a clean and jerk. That is legit. That warmed my heart. Congratulations, Elliot. And the final one from Jonathan. This is a good one, actually, because it relates to some of the questions today, because Jonathan, like many other members of Lynchpin, is strong. People are obsessed with strength. I don't want to get down a rabbit hole here, but we're obsessed with everything. We're obsessed with well-rounded fitness. We're obsessed with making you stronger. We're obsessed with building your engine, and we're obsessed with building your calisthenics and gymnastics capacity, and we're doing it all at the same time and not developing one at the exclusion of another. Because if you're actually interested in doing things in real world, if you're just strong with a mediocre engine, it's amazing how quickly that strength goes away as soon as your heart rate goes up and you don't have the conditioning to keep working. Again, obviously, if you're too weak, you can have all the conditioning in the world, and that doesn't go well. So point being, we're chasing all of it. But Jonathan here, this was on the day we did 7 sets of 2 on the clean and jerk. He says, kudos again to Pat for his programming and videos. Because I watched the video, we make a daily video each day, I pushed to do these as touch and goes instead of quick singles like I normally do, and boy was that a ride. Nothing like getting the wind knocked out of you before catching the bar and doing the next rep. But his loads for the 7 sets of 2, touch and goes, 225 pounds for the first 4 sets, 235 pounds for sets 5 and 6, and then in his last one he did 245 pounds for a touch and go. When he logged that score on BTWB, that was a level 98 out of 99, a level 98. That level of strength has been developed without doing a heavy lift every day and without doing heavy lift plus Metcon. And these relate to questions that we're going to touch on later. The reason that a program the way that we do at Lynchpin and we do business the way that we do is from lessons learned over the last 2 or 3 decades of working out and strength and conditioning, all that. And if I truly believed that a different method would get most people under most circumstances, most of the time, fitter, faster, and stronger, we would do that. That's what my allegiance is to. Results. Period. End of story. That's the allegiance. But I don't think that heavy lift plus Metcon makes people the fittest, fastest, and strongest that they can be. I don't think it works well for most people. I understand why it has to get done in some situations, at some affiliates. I don't think it's ideal. I think they're just coping with the demands of the real world and a clientele that you don't know when they're coming in. But I digress. Okay, let's get into the questions for today. So I've got the questions pulled up here. Things are a little bit different this morning since I'm making this happen since YouTube didn't cooperate, but okay, here we go. I think I'm gonna shift this over here. First question from Craig. Oh, why is that not expanding? Come on now. Okay, here we go. Man, it's a day of internet stuff. Craig S., you often talk about scaling down, but when is it a good or smart idea to scale up? I'd like to make some of my heavy day at high heart rate lifts a bit heavier, but sometimes I'm not sure what workouts to do that for and what choices to make based on the intended stimulus. I know that we have the fitness freedom, but I also don't want to make dumb choices. Cool question. So, Craig, here's my general sense is, getting back to what we said earlier, if you are actually truly pursuing well-rounded fitness, you want to get stronger and you want to have increased engine capacity and increased gymnastics capacity, then for most people, most circumstances, most of the time, the need to increase something on a heavy day at a high heart rate probably won't be there unless, again, fitness freedom, right? That you love everything going on, you love the program and all that, but you have a particular bias and you're willing to tilt yourself to that bias and go heavier, maybe even on a heavy day at a high heart rate, bump up that load a percentage a little bit, realizing that that might come at the detriment of being as well-rounded as possible. Okay, because if you look at, if we're talking about just getting strong, okay, there are multiple ways to get strong, and it's not just putting more weight on the bar, okay, which is also why, getting back to why the heavy lift plus Metcon every day, I don't think is ideal for most people to fully optimize their potential. But an oversimplification, okay, I realize it's an oversimplification, but it'll do for the sake of what we're talking about here with Craig's question. A handful of ways to get strong that we hit over the course of the training at Lynchpin is you're going to have maximal load days. Think of your 7 sets of 2, 7 sets of 1, 5 by 5, 4 sets of 8, whatever it happens to be, you're going to lift as heavy as you can for those sets. You're going to take big rest periods and lift as heavy as you can for those sets. Maximal load, a classic, tried and true way to get stronger. Other ways that you can get stronger is having a sub-maximal load on the bar, so some percentage of your 1 rep max, 90, 80, 70, 60, lower than that, below sub-maximal, and then lift that load to failure. Okay, now that happens probably more frequently than you realize when there's a loading in a barbell that's a thruster, a power clean, a deadlift, or whatever. It's in a mixed modality, multi-round workout, 3 rounds for time, a 21:59 deal. It's not your 1 rep max on the bar. Whether it's a percentage of your 1 rep max, or it's, let's say for guys, 225, 275, 185 in the bar if we're talking deadlifts, it's sub-maximal. It's below your 1 rep max. And you're moving that in a 21:59 rep scheme or something else with other movements that are probably causing fatigue. And so what you're doing is, a lot of us have to break up those sets because you're huffing and puffing and you're tired or whatnot. So now you're lifting a sub-maximal load until you hit a bit of a failure point. You got to drop the bar, you rest, then you go back to that sub-maximal load and you keep lifting it. So that's another way to get strong, and we do those as well. And then yet another way to get strong, potentially underappreciated, is lifting a sub-maximal load quickly. Okay, so now you get into rep ranges and loadings that maybe don't force the athlete to break things up every now and then. It's a multiple round workout where you're hitting something for a quick 10, it's a little bit of a lighter load, but you're moving fast. And you go back over there, you head over there, you're moving fast. And now you're moving a sub-maximal load quickly. So we do everything from the maximal loading, classic heavy days, to sub-maximal loads to failure, to sub-maximal loads quickly. And all of those things are all in the design as to why people get so darn strong following Lynchpin when it doesn't appear on paper to be like this heavy bias strength program, but there's so much cooked into how we do business that is actually how athletes get strong. And if that's, so for most people, getting back to your question, Craig, this is going to work quite well. Now, if you have a bias and you're willing to embrace that bias, potentially the detriment of something else, then, if we look back to last week, there was a heavy day at a high heart rate that had medicine ball cleans, push jerks, and calories on the aerobic, interval style. It was nasty, right? It was 3 intervals, and each time you touched the bar for the push jerk, it was a set of 10 after the med ball cleans, right? So the legs were spiced up and you were breathing heavy, and that's a very different set of 10. And those 10 push jerks were at 60% of your 1 rep max, designed to allow you to move that sub-maximal load quickly and potentially unbroken in round 1, but maybe have to break it up later on. Now you've got moving it to sub-maximal load quickly and also potentially moving it to failure. Now, if you bump that load up in there, and you always bump that load up, and then you're always doing it to failure because you made it so heavy that you always have to break it up, you might be neglecting one of the other ways, which is moving sub-maximal loads quickly and not having to break it up. So it's just one of those things. Again, fitness freedom. Feel free to play with it and experiment with it, but I would say, again, that most circumstances, most people, most of the time, Rx Plus wouldn't be something that most people would have to worry about, and especially you don't have to worry about that on the classic heavy days because you're lifting whatever is heavy for you. And then on anything which is percentage based, well, those percentages are chosen based on the rep ranges that you're going to be doing for that particular movement, and since they're percentage based, they should be appropriately challenging for where you are because each person has a different load because it's percentage based. So hopefully that helps. But again, feel free to experiment, my friend. Miranda G. Miranda, I know you've had a big week. Yes. And she says, talking to her team at work, burnout is the word of the week. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. What's your favorite way to recharge during and after those times when you are chronically burning it down at both ends? I like to schedule a road trip or camping to Colorado or the mountains, somewhere that the phone doesn't work, as the mounters center me. I mean, mountains are wonderful. There's no questioning that. Getting someplace where your phone doesn't work is also wonderful. So I think you're on it right there. For me personally, when I feel that way, which probably happens, like I'm burning it down at both ends more frequently than I wish. I'm a big reader, and if I can find some time in the morning before the family gets up and the house is very quiet and it's me in a gently lit room with a fresh brewed cup of coffee, an hour of time before anyone else in the house is awake, and a book that I really enjoy, that's a slice of heaven to me. And that kind of helps me recharge and center myself. Some of the other things I'll do as well is just getting outside. Now, where we are at this phase in life, 3 kids and schedules, like it's not easy just like, as you said, hop in the car and take off for a road trip to the mountains. This doesn't happen that frequently. But for me personally, even if I can just get outside and go walk around for about an hour, take an hour walk out in nature, even if it's cold outside, that brisk cold air, man, that's great. And I have to consciously make the decision if I do something like that, most of the time, to not have a podcast or something playing in my ear, because I have a habit to fill my time, and every now and then I just need to like disconnect. And even that hour of walking with just my thoughts and no electronic device is great. And that's also why in the morning I try to actually read a book instead of like listening to something in an audio book or listening to a podcast, because I feel like that's just more of the tech and just like old school reading with my eyes. Now, yes, it's on a Kindle, I get it, but reading with my eyes kind of slows me down, and that's good for me. But I hope you feel better. It sounds like you've had a rugged week at work. Oh, I just put 2 and 2 together right now. The individual that I just mentioned is doing so great with those 7x2 clean and jerks and getting a level 98 also asked a question. Jonathan B. We've done the Joe Mills workout a couple of times lately with the snatches, and I really enjoy that structure. While I was doing the 7x2 clean and jerks this week, I was wondering if there's a chance we'll see that with the clean and jerk version of the Joe Mills sometimes down the road. I would say that's a definite maybe. So the Joe Mills structure, Joe Mills workout, 20 for 20 workout it's an EMOM where every minute on the minute you do a lift, and it's percentage based, and it kind of walks through what percentage to do on each minute. And I think the last 5 minutes you're just going for heavy singles or whatnot. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that at all. that would just be a different workout. So again, it's not wrong, it's just different. The Joe Mills is wonderful. That's also, the Joe Mills for snatching is also different than like a 7x1 snatch. And what I mean by that is, while some people, that's why we do both, why some people might like the structure of the Joe Mills, since you're going every minute on the minute, by design, you are probably, for some people, not going to touch as much of a maximal load as somebody that could have benefited from resting 2 to 3 minutes between heavy lifts, because the Joe Mills keeps you on 1 minute. So it has a beautiful structure and it's beneficial, but for some folks the loading might be a bit lighter. Other folks are going to find that they PR because that structure just built them up beautifully. And so when dealing with a larger group of people, we will do both, but that's a good idea to piece something like that together for the clean and jerk as well. Meg S. I used to be able to string 4 or more ring muscle-ups and bar muscle-ups together, but the gym I was going to stopped programming them. That's interesting. Now I can just do singles, but I chicken wing a lot. My strict strength is in place already. I can do 10 plus strict pull-ups. What do you think is the best way to get back to stringing muscle-ups together with solid technique? First of all, can we just pause for a second? Meg, you've got 10 plus strict pull-ups? That's awesome. You are a strong human being. I am extraordinarily impressed. Man, this is no pressure. And I'm not calling you out like I don't believe you. Like, I just think that's really cool. If you do like post a video of that, of like 10 strict pull-ups, post it in the private Facebook group. Let me know if I can share it on social media, because I actually think like that would be so motivational to other women out there. I mean, that is legit. Okay, but anyway, getting back to what to do to help you out there. So if you go to the CrossFit Lynchpin YouTube channel, as I said, it's giving me a headache this morning, and you go to the playlist entitled Lynchpin Instructional Videos, there are 4 different videos that I think you would benefit from. And I think the last one maybe the most. And you could just go to the little search feature on our YouTube channel and type in muscle ups, and these will all probably pop up with other videos as well. But the first one's entitled CF Lynchpin Bar Muscle Up and Scaling. The next one is CF Lynchpin Lowering Muscle Ups. The third one is CF Lynchpin Lowering Muscle Ups Part 2. And then the fourth one, which I think is the one you'll benefit from the most, is Lowering Muscle Ups Strengthening the Transition, because that's where I think you're going to benefit from the most. And I just recently shot this with my crazy daughter out in the garage within the last 2 weeks. And it's how to use the low ring muscle up to really get as strong as you want to get in that transition. I mean, like crazy superhero strong in that ring muscle up transition if you so desire. And with the pull-up capacity that you said you already have, and if I'm going to assume that you have some ring dip capacity of the same nature, if you spend some time doing what I showed in that low ring muscle ups strengthening the transition video, you will be good to go, 100% good to go. So go ahead and check that out, and I think it'll treat you really, really well. Okay, let's see. Ooh, this one. Austin T. I have to lift on a surface that's not level. What's the better option? Lifting facing uphill or lifting facing downhill? First of all, yikes. I mean, I don't know how extreme of an angle with the floor we're talking about there, but man. So assuming that it's not psychotically crazy, I hope anyway, and that it's just a slight incline one way or the other, which a lot of garages have so that water will run out of it, but it sounds like you're maybe dealing with something even a bit more extreme than that. I would say think about whether you want to be lifting uphill or downhill. If you were on a flat surface, think about wearing flat shoes and you put on Olympic lifting shoes. What's that going to do? It deliberately raises your heel, okay? And that's, so that would be think about it now. Now you have the floor, the angle of the floor, and if you faced going downhill, okay, so to speak, and you face going downhill while you're squatting, it's kind of like you're putting your foot at the same angle that you would in an Olympic lifting shoe. So facing downhill, for lack of a better way to say it, is probably the preferred angle for squatting. And then you wouldn't want to have a really super high heel for deadlifting, because that would, for most people, just push you out over the bar, and that's not going to be your friend. So again, depending upon the angle of your floor, which I don't know precisely, I might turn the other way around for deadlifting. But without seeing much more of the floor and how stiff that angle is there, that's about the best I can do for you. And man, I don't know if it's in your garage or backyard, property that is or is not yours, but if you have any opportunity to build yourself like a lifting platform and level that, I would search some YouTube videos and try to make that happen. I think you'll be happy in the long run that you did. Paul S. You mentioned on most videos that overhead is not your friend. Yeah, that's quite true. How have you come to accept this, and does it bother you still? Asking for a friend. You're going down that road, Paul. How did I come to accept it? Slowly, on a timeline that would be indicative of a total idiot. That was how I came to accept it. I forced myself to go overhead, even though it was painful and clearly more negative to my health and fitness than positive, because, well, the workout says I have to do it. So darn it, I'm gonna do it. And man, I just messed up my neck even more. It was just stupid. So it took me a really, really, really long time. I'm at the point now where I've come to this wonderful tranquility and peace to know that just overhead's not it. Me and overhead, we don't get along. Very infrequently. I can do some light dumbbell work, push presses, where I can have my arms in different configurations if need be. One's a bit more out front, one's a bit more pushed to the side. It looks disgusting, but I can do it with lighter work. Heavy work overhead, negative. It's just not going to happen. And a lot of times a barbell that forces me to have both hands the same isn't going to go well overhead either. And so, as most people in Lynchpin know, I almost never go overhead, sadly. It does bother me. I know that there's so much more potential I could have if I was able to train in that manner, but those aren't the cards that I was dealt. So I can either, play the hand that I was dealt, or, I don't know, bang my head against a wall and injure myself, and I don't want to do that. And so I press in all kinds of other directions whenever we press overhead, from push-ups to ring dips to bench press to whatever it happens to be. And the good news is, if I was gonna go into a competition, they're probably gonna go overhead in the competition, and I'm gonna do horribly or have to bow out of that event, and I'll tumble down the leaderboard. Whoop-de-doo. That's not something that I'm concerned about. What is interesting is, even though I know that there's so much I could be doing that sadly I'm not, if we're having a real conversation about just everyday life, I'm fine. Totally fine. Plenty fit, fast, and strong for everything I need to do in life. So it doesn't bother me, Paul, meaning that I'm trying to figure out how to word this. It doesn't bother me like I toss and turn at night because I can't go overhead. It bothers me, if that's not the word I'm going to use, because I think the overhead lifts are so beautiful. Absolutely beautiful and profoundly beneficial. And so to not be able to take full advantage of that bothers me. But I do the best I can with what I've got. So if you're heading down that road, don't push it, my friend. I mean, it just depends upon why you can't go overhead. Is it something mechanical? Is it an impingement? Is it something that you can correct? Or is it just not going to get better with time or with therapy or with whatever it happens to be? And just make the best decision for yourself. Let's see. Ike is sore. Talking about muscle soreness. Let's discuss some methods for effective cool downs and possible supplements to reduce inflammation and soreness. I'm not going to be able to help you out on the supplements, my friend. I don't dabble with any of those. Unpopular opinion, I feel great. I don't know what it is. I got no muscle soreness whatsoever. I feel really good. So I would say just the general prescription. Feeling free to play with this as needed for the individual, but the general prescription, most people, most circumstances, most of the time, you do the workout, and then for 10 to 15 minutes afterwards, you just do this cool down, easy walk, jog, bike, row, whatever it happens to be, and then go ahead and stretch the affected muscle groups, static stretching, varieties, banded stretching varieties after the workout. Sleep's going to be critical. Hydration, get some good water in you. Eat clean foods, not processed junk. Get some protein in to help rebuild your muscles. Some high quality carbohydrates are going to be your friend. Maybe some sweet potatoes and rice. You can play with some hot and cold therapies if you so desire as well, whether that's heating pads on sore muscles, some sauna work if you have that available to you, cold plunge if you're feeling particularly froggy, the foam roller is your friend. But a couple of the things that I also personally think are huge is the next day. What I do the next day, if I had a really spicy workout, is really important. So if we look at something that's going to leave a mark, like you really poured your heart and soul into a 5x5 back squat, do it right, you're going to feel it. The next day, if I do nothing, I will pay for it. But what I'll do, regardless of whether the next day is a workout day or not, and there's a pretty good chance that the day after that, we're doing something different, but I will make sure I do some gentle movements that involve the musculature that is affected. So if I had that heavy 5x5 back squat, the next day over the course of the day, maybe I'm standing at my desk here all day working, every now and then I'll just step to the side and I'll do just like a slow controlled set of 5 air squats. And then an hour later, a set of slow 5 air squats. An hour later, a set of slow 5 air squats. And I'll just do a bunch of those during the day on the actual muscles that are really sore in the same darn movement that made me so sore. And doing that makes me feel so much better than not having done that. Actually moving the affected musculature. So maybe you can call that active recovery as well. I'm a big proponent of that. And the other thing is that whole modulating intensity piece. Thinking about looking at the whole week in this holistic kind of view, and then figuring out when you're going to get after it, when you're not, and listening to your body and realizing that it's okay to take your foot off the gas every now and then, because if you just hammer it day after day after day, depending upon whether you're 25, 35, 45, 55, or 65, depends upon how frequently you can do that. And if you're at a different phase in your life, you might have to take your foot off the accelerator every now and then, so that you can recover properly to then put your foot back on the accelerator. And so for an example, was it yesterday? No, it was the day before that we had the Bulgarian split squats. Bulgarian split squats. If you do Bulgarian split squats holding a feather in your hand, they're challenging, let alone with any appreciable loading. And the way that I was feeling walking into that workout, I said, you know what? I'm doing light Bulgarian split squats today. Light, because that's just what's going to be appropriate, so I don't feel like a train hit me, because it's what my body told me. So I did light Bulgarian split squats, and I feel really good. I bet if I dosed them up really hard, I would feel quite differently right now, but I feel great, ready to attack tomorrow's workout. So that modulating intensity thing, based upon where you are, is also a really big deal. Let's see. Oscar K. Been a Lynchpin member for a couple months, so really not that long, but welcome, my friend. And I noticed that for time / not for time and workouts with a specific number of reps or a specific number of rounds are far more frequent compared to AMRAPs. This popped into my mind. Just noticed that there is an AMRAP coming up next week. Do you program AMRAPs less frequently than 4 time? And if so, is there a specific reason? Absolutely, I do. 100% you are correct, my friend. And if somebody said, luckily they're not saying this, that I could only do one type for the rest of my life, it would be the 4 time style workout. And that, in programming speak, you've got, why did I just absolutely lost my train of thought? 4 time workouts, those are task priority. meaning that you have a task that you need to do. 21:59 of thrusters and pull-ups, right? How long will it take you? 2.5 minutes, 12.5 minutes. But you're going to stay there and do the work until that task is done. That's a task priority workout. Then you have a time priority workout, which is like Cindy. I'm going to set this block of time, and for 20 minutes, you're going to do 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, and 15 air squats. Whether you get 2 rounds or 30 rounds, you're done at 20 minutes. Do both have value? Yeah, true, for sure, absolutely, which is why there's one coming up next week. But there's an escape with the AMRAP. You can just sandbag it, and no matter what, the clock keeps ticking, even though you're sandbagging it, and then the workout's just over, and you walk away. On the 4-time, aka the task priority workout, the 3 rounds for time, 4 rounds for time, 21:59, the filthy 50s, whatever, there is no escape. You have to do the work. And so you are therefore motivated to get the work over, or this workout's never going to end. Now that's a bit dramatic, but it is also, that is truly linked into it. And a lot of times from a programming perspective, there could be a certain overall volume that I want the athlete to get in. Maybe I want you to get in 5 sets of these 10 squats that we're going to do. I want you to get in X amount of pull-ups that we're going to do. Like when I look back at the volume of that day and the volume of the week and the volume of everything else, what makes sense in that day? And if it's just, you could get, this number of rounds or a different number of rounds, you might not get that volume that we're looking for. So again, most of the time, most circumstances, I like the 4-time aspect because it allows me to actually place the appropriate prescription of loading and volumes and rep range that I want for the community. And then given the different various workout options that we have that day, and when you watch the video that I make for each day and you understand the intent of the workout, you can choose that perfect one that if the regular workout of the day is a bit too spicy, maybe the wild card fits great, or maybe it's the scale, or you modify it in some way, that it's just the perfect workout that you needed to do. And a lot of times that's accomplished better, in my opinion anyway, with a task priority workout as compared to a time priority workout. So that would be my short one right there. Let's see. John M. Whatever happened to the motorcycle that you left in Argentina? And also, what ended up being wrong with it? Oh man, John. I wish I could give you a cool story about... Basically, it was my fault, is what I'm trying to say. So anyone who's unfamiliar with myself and Ian Wittenberg, in 2013, rode a couple motorcycles from Big Sky, Montana, down through the US, through Mexico, through Central America, then down through South America, and ended up in Argentina. My bike ended up in Argentina. Ian's ended up in Chile because he didn't grenade his bike as I did. I had like a slow oil leak or something that I just didn't notice. Again, totally my fault. But yeah, on that particular day on that highway in Argentina, basically the engine seized up because the oil got so low. And that was pretty much unrecoverable. And so that bike remains down there to this day. It served me well. Yeah. That whole video series is called 3, 2, 1, Go South. And it was fantastic. It was an amazing experience. It's also full of me using a whole lot of colorful language, which, my kids enjoy when they find it on YouTube. All right, let's see. These are the questions, that was Facebook. These are the questions from the Lynchpin squad and the BTW app. Let's see. From Tarek. Tarek, I hope I'm saying your name right. Hi Pat, I'm working on my aerobic capacity. I know Lynchpin will help, but assuming that my aerobic capacity is bad, how, I want to improve it, how many sessions should I add a week, etc., etc. Because for me, that's the priority right now. Okay, cool question. Okay, that actually gets to the question we tackled earlier on, like if I want to RX+, you're making an intentional decision, and that's good. So if you know, like, hey, I've assessed myself and my engine's holding me back, got to get the engine better. Fantastic. Now, depending upon how long you've been following along with Lynchpin, as you said, that's going to come along. But if this is a known deficiency and you want to give it some extra attention, on my first thing is I would say on any of the workouts where there's a run, bike, or row option, and if you're looking to build just particularly your running, you could always choose the run option, right? And go ahead and get in some extra stuff there. What I would also say is depending upon your fitness level, it is a bit of an individual question as to how much you can tolerate. If your world was, I want to build up my aerobic capacity, and since that's my priority, well, then maybe don't do 5 Lynchpin workouts a week. Maybe you're going to do 3 Lynchpin workouts a week and 3 running sessions. I mean, nothing wrong with that if that's the goal that you have for this time being. What you could do is there's also a podcast we did. Go to our YouTube channel and look up help. I can only work out 3 times a week. And that'll help you choose the 3 workouts to do each week. And then for the other 3 days, you could make them running days. And without putting a tremendous amount of thought into it, you could make one a steady state, longer conditioning sort of a piece. And then you could have one day be a sprint day, whatever that happened to be, 100s, 200s, 400s, 800s, a mixture, mile repeats, blah, blah, blah. And that third one, if you knew where you particularly were suffering from, is it your speed, is it your stamina, you could make that third one fit that as well. And you could make your way through different distances, different sprint days or whatnot, but there'd be nothing wrong with doing that. And just seeing after you do that, don't fall in love with it. Truly listen to your body with an open mind as to this dance that you're playing between adding in extra running and doing X amount of Lynchpin workouts. Do I feel like I'm recovering well? Because if you're just adding more volume and your body's not recovering well, but you feel this pressure to add more volume and do more, well, then all you're actually doing is starting to show up to workouts under-recovered, overtrained, however you want to phrase that. And then if you're showing up that way to workouts, you're going to be able to bring less intensity to the workout. And if you believe intensity drives results, which all data supports that, then if you're bringing less intensity to your sessions because you felt this need to add more volume, you're actually going to plateau and regress. So there's going to be this fine dance that you're going to have to find out for you as to how many Lynchpin sessions and how many running sessions you can tolerate and still actually train hard since you're looking to improve. So hopefully that helps. Maria G. As a new member here since July, I don't know this and I'm sure it's been answered, but I'm curious as to the origin of Lynchpin. What led you to creating an online fitness program? Oh man, great question. I wish I knew off the top of my head. We most certainly have covered this before in an episode. Absolutely. We try to find it and post it somewhere for you, or you could try to search for it on our YouTube channel, The Origin of Lynchpin. But long story short, what we are doing right now was never on my radar, was never the plan, and it was never predetermined and laid out. Where we are today blows my mind. It's crazy to me. It's also really cool. Lynchpin just started because I love programming. I'm just a total all-in programming nerd. And I just want to do what's effective, and I don't care about what's popular. Like, I'm not afraid to program and do the non-sexy stuff that a lot of people will avoid, but it's so critical and beneficial. And I just started putting that stuff out. And what's cool is there was obviously a need and a desire, and people around the world, I guess, it resonated with. Again, I had no clue this would happen. And little by little, more people started doing it, following it, tagging workouts, and then they just started asking for things. I just post a workout, and what should I do for a warm-up? What should I do for a scale? What's a good goal time? What if I don't have this gear? Like all that stuff happened, and a good buddy of mine who owns BTWB, Mo, we were having a conversation one day years ago, over 10 years ago, and he was like, look, like this is happening, we can provide the platform for you, you can have your own community, you can upload all this stuff, you can deliver to people. And I was like, oh, okay, sounds good. With no vision, no nothing. And all of it grew just 100% organically, as much as of a played out cliche word that is, it's true. It just grew organically as to the needs of the community and where it went and whatnot. And what's really cool, I brag about the Lynchpin community all the time because all of you deserve it. If somebody is following Lynchpin, they actually care about results. That's God's honest truth. And that might seem, I don't know, like you could say that about anything or whatnot, but I don't know if that's true. And why I say if somebody's following Lynchpin, they care about results, is because we have no flash. We don't put out any sexy media whatsoever. There is no media team. There's no production. There's no editing. There's no touch-up. There's no nothing. There's no film crews. And our YouTube channel and our Instagram account are the most boring accounts on the face of the earth. We just post a workout each day with a gray photo of the background with black text. There's no sizzle there. So if somebody's actually following Lynchpin, and if the Lynchpin community is actually growing, which it has for years and years and years, it's because it works and because it's fun. And people want to know, like, what's the magic of Lynchpin? First of all of you are the magic. Like, the community is the magic. Hands down, we have the coolest people on the face of the earth. I don't know how it happens. Blows my mind every day. All of you are awesome and supportive and real. And the other part of, like, why does Lynchpin work so well and what's the magic about it? People actually do the workouts because they're actually fun. And so if you have an amazing group of people that really support each other, like a true community, people are like, how can that be online? A true community, like, really? And then you have that true community supporting one another, making smart decisions, and then actually doing the workouts, even the ones they don't want to. Incredible things are going to happen. And so I look at where we are right now and just, anyway, it boggles my mind. Daniel H. Great question, my friend. This is one of those, if I had a nickel every time I heard the question, I'd be filming right now from an oceanfront home. What does your thinking process look like when it comes to programming the strength part of the program? He admittedly says, as a guy having a passion for the basic barbell lifts, I wonder why you choose to program the way that you do compared to a setup that is strength plus the conditioning piece, followed with the accessory work. Awesome question. So this also relates back to, like, what I said way earlier about John B. and how strong he was in the clean and jerks and other stories that harken to that same thing. And if I thought another way to program, such as heavy lift plus workout or heavy lift plus Metcon every day, was going to get most people, most circumstances, most of the time, fitter, faster, and stronger, I would do it in a heartbeat. But everything that I have seen and experienced and had the pleasure to interact with over the course of all these years has not led me to that conclusion. Quite frankly, the opposite. If we're actually chasing being well-rounded while still being ferociously strong. So, Daniel, what I would recommend that you do, I'm going to throw a bunch of these at you, but I think that you'll enjoy them. It's 3 different Lynchpin conversations, 408, 341, and 367. I think you'll enjoy those. Lynchpin Conversations number 408 is entitled Minimalist Strength and Conditioning Explained. Lynchpin Conversations number 341 is entitled Lift Less Frequently and Get Stronger. Then the final one, episode 367, is entitled Heavy Lift plus Metcon equals Mediocre Results. And I think you'll really enjoy those. I think they get to the heart of what you're asking. And I will give you the brief Reader's Digest version, which relates to some of the other questions we've talked about today, like with the running, how much running to add in. Because at a certain point, more volume doesn't solve it. Another session doesn't solve it. Adding in another piece doesn't solve it. Because, again, you could be a unique robot. But if we're getting back to the most people, most circumstances, most of the time, there's a threshold for people that beyond which another session is not actually beneficial. It doesn't work, though. It's actually detrimental because we're playing this beautiful balancing act of volume and intensity, volume and intensity, volume and intensity. And again, for most people, if they truly go into the garage and they warm up for getting back to like that 5x5 back squat session, that's a full hour. It's a full hour to do a general warm-up, then to start building up your warm-up weights for that back squat, and then to get to a significant load that makes you a little bit nervous. You can do it, but it makes you nervous approaching the bar. Like, that's a serious load for a set of 5, and then it's so taxing that you gotta rest 4 minutes before you do the next set, and then you gotta rest 4 minutes. And by the time you do that, like, the hour's gone. And that's why, and if you actually lifted so heavy that you needed to take 4 minutes rest between each one of those sets, it's so systemically taxing to your body and your musculature and your central nervous system, like, you shouldn't feel the need to do something else. And as a matter of fact, the best thing if you want to get really strong is just to let it take most of the time and not go do something else. Because if you had to do that and really lift how you should lift on a 5x5 with the intensity that you should bring in the rest periods, well, are you going to be able to bring a whole bunch of intensity to some other workout afterwards? For most people, probably not. Maybe if I gave you hours and hours and hours to rest, but for most people, probably not. We've got to knock out this next piece right here. And so, again, for most people, one's going to get done poorly or in a mediocre fashion. And after doing it for a while, if you know you've got this other hard workout after the end, maybe you might start slacking on the lift a little bit. You're like, oh, wow, I got this 15-minute AMRAP coming up after this 20-minute AMRAP. Like, I'm not going to deadlift that heavy because I know what I got coming up after that. And all of a sudden, for most people, what happens is now they're doing 2 things suboptimally, 2 things with mediocre intensity. And maybe this doesn't catch up with you in week 1 or week 2 or week 3, but Lynchpin is literally chock full of people who have lived this life. And I'm just retelling their stories. That eventually, what will happen is you'll either be overtrained or under-recovered, again, however you want to say that, showing up to lift heavy every single day on a tired body, on a tired central nervous system, and your effort level will go down a little bit. And your effort level will go down a little bit. Because then you can do this other workout and you show up to the gym a little bit tired. Heavy lift, heavy, other down, it goes down a little bit. And then if it starts to go down, you start to do these sessions with less intensity, you're going to stagnate, you're going to plateau, or you're going to potentially regress. And then what a lot of people actually need is, instead of doing 2 things in a mediocre fashion, to do 1 thing and pour their heart and soul into it. And that is also encapsulated in all those episodes that I just encourage you to watch there. Oh man, this anyway, I almost went down another rabbit hole. Let's see. I'll leave it. Okay, this is from Freddie T. The Open. Okay, so basically the Open's coming up, and if somebody was going to do the Open, would you be willing to do a daily training video like you do for the Lynchpin workouts? Oh, I can't guarantee that, Freddie. I'm gonna have to give you a definite maybe on that. What normally happens on that is, I think Matteo Pizzi, he usually puts out a warm-up to help you, if you are going to do the open workout that day, to help you warm up and feel good attacking it or whatnot. But we shall see. I can't promise that I could add that to the stuff I got to do, because taking care of the Lynchpin workout of the day and the programming and the 5 options, the warm-ups and the accessory, like all that's got to be my primary focus on top of the AMAs and all this good stuff. So, all right, that is the Ask Me Anything. It was supposed to be live, but it wasn't, because the interwebs are a wonderful place every now and then. As I record this, it's Thursday, a rest day. Have a fantastic day, everyone, and we will talk soon.